Hello guys, hope you guys are doing good. So today we'll learn about something called reserved keywords. So what are the reserved keywords? Okay, first let's look at the definition. So what does it says? The definition says that reserved keywords are predefined words in Java that have some fixed meaning, okay, and are a part of the Java syntax and which cannot be used as the identifiers, right? Like class, variables, method names, this cannot be used as the identifiers. Okay, so for example, if I declare this keyword as identifier as the reserved keyword called class as the identifier, it will give me the compile time error. For example, so class is an identifier. If I give that as, if I want to declare it, it is giving me an error. So instead of that, what I will say, I'll say it as payment id. Okay, if you have checked it, so this error has been gone. Okay, if I cannot give any predefined keywords as the identifier. Okay, what is meant by identifier? Identifier is nothing but it's a specific name which is given to the variables or classes. Okay, so I'm saying I can give it as a payment id. Fine. So in Java there are totally 53 reserved keywords, among which, right, 50 are reserved keywords and 3 are reserved literals. So what are reserved literals? Like true, false, and null. Okay, and among this 50, used keywords are 48 and unused keywords are const and go. So these are declared, but we are not using const and go anywhere in the project. Okay, so this const and go, these are used for the future purposes. Okay, we will learn more why we are not using const and go in the regular Java programming. Okay, but the used keywords are 48. Okay, now let's look into the Java keywords which are most used in the Java projects. Okay, so boolean is used where, for example, you want to declare something called true or false. Okay, that's where you will use a keyword called boolean. Okay, so this, if you check byte short, right, all these things, right, so there is a concept of data types. Okay, so what is meant by data types and what is that, we will look in more about in the future, but let's look at what are the data type related keywords. So data type related keywords are, so what is meant by data type, first we'll learn about that. So for example, if you want to store some id, okay, so I was storing an id here, right? Sorry. So I was storing something called payment id, right? So what is meant by this? So this is method data. So this is a data which we are storing some variable, right? So what type of data is it? It is integer int type of data or whole numbers. So for example, there are, let's take as a concept of whole numbers. Okay, we have whole numbers like 10, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so these numbers which we are storing in some data types. Okay, so these are nothing but the int related data types. Okay, for example, if you just go here under the data types, what do we have? We have something called primitive data types and non-primitive data types. Okay, so what are primitive data types? Just look at this numeric data type. Okay, what I said you, 1, 2, 3, or all these things, right? These are all the numeric data types. 1, 10, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now under the numeric data types, okay, just leave about this integer. So this is nothing but it's a wrapper class for all the byte, short, int, and long. Okay, so this is a wrapper class over the uh, for all your primitive data types. So generally we will use, in the Java projects, we use the wrapper classes only. Okay, it's always recommended to use the wrapper class. We will see why we want to look. We have to use only wrapper classes inside the. So there is, so what I wanted to say here is this payment is called as a Pojo class. Okay, Pojo. It is nothing but plain old Java object. Okay, so this is nothing but a Pojo class. Inside the Pojo class, okay, it is always recommended to use the wrapper classes. Okay, for example, payment ID. Okay, if I say, let's take salary. Okay, string is a class. Okay, integer is a wrapper class, string is a wrapper class. Okay, so it is always recommended to use the wrapper classes, but it is important to know about what are primitive data types. Okay, under the, so for the integer wrapper class, there are primitive types called byte, int, short. Okay, and there is something called long. Okay, what is long? We will see. Why do we have these many primitive data types, and why do we have a wrapper class? Okay, so every primitive data type has some range. Okay, so byte is nothing but it's a 8-bit integer. Short is nothing but it's a 16-bit integer. Okay, int is 32-bit integer. Long is 64. So for each and every numeric data type, there is some range. Range is nothing but I can give minus 128 to 127 plus 127. If you are giving something a range between minus 128, it is giving an error. If you give 127, this should be resolved. What it says? Okay, it says that we have already declared. Okay, so if I give 129, this will give me an error because the range of the byte is till 128 or 127. Even if I give 128, it is not accepting. So 127 plus 127 it will accept. Plus 127 also it will accept. Okay, if I give more than the value which is out of the range of byte, it will give me that error. Okay, so for example, if I take int here. Okay, so int has some range. Like if I declare a value which is longer than that, it will give me an error. Okay, so for this, what I should do, I should give something called long. So if I declare this, the error will be gone. Even integer number is too large. It says like integer number is too large, I can't even declare that value. So everything has some range. So if you check, if you declare, this is acceptable, this is acceptable. Okay, this is acceptable. So if I declare more value, okay, it will give me an error. So but it is always recommended to use the wrapper class of the primitive data types. Okay, fine. So I hope you guys are good with this numeric data types. Okay, we will learn more about this in the coming videos, upcoming videos. Now there is something called non-numeric types, right? So boolean and char. So what is meant by that? So if you want to declare, so for example, if you want to declare whether payment is allowed. Okay, payment allowed indicator as false. Okay, if I want to say something was true or false, in that case I have to use a non-numeric data type called boolean, and it is a wrapper class. So something similar to this, there is one primitive data type, that is small boolean. Okay, fine. So even char. So char, what do you mean by char? You have to give single digit. Why? If I give more than that, it will give an error. So char will hold a single character. If you wanna give more than that, you have to declare this as string. Then you can give Harish. I can give any number of characters. Okay. What is the error here? Too many characters in literal. So what I should do is, so you check the error. What it is giving? It will tell you what exactly is happening. So if I have to give more than one character, right, I have to declare it in double quotes. Earlier I was giving you in single quotes, but if you check now I'm giving in double quotes. You can check the error here. What type of error it is giving? It's saying that number is too large, right? To hold long. If I give capital long, right? Even then this error is not been removed. So each and everything has some limits. So those ranges we will check in our upcoming videos. Okay. So under the data types, there is something called primitive data types. So that is non-numeric data types are boolean and char. Numeric are like byte, short, int and long, float and double. So if you wanna give some, so if I have to give something called decimal values, right? Float. So I say salary. Okay. So 1000.00. It says what it says. It gives some error. I have to declare this as float, but you have given double. So if I have to say this as float, I have to give it as f. Then the error will be gone. So if I have to give double here, so it will give an error. It says that you have declared as double, but okay. I think double, it is vice versa. Okay. Float and double both are accepting the decimal variables, but it is something similar to that range. Okay. It is more of a range. So double will accept more and float will accept maybe less of that values, decimal values. Okay. So see, it is more of a maths concepts here. Okay. If you wanna hold all the whole numbers, you will either hold those values in byte, int, short or long. Okay. If you wanna store something called string character things of things, right, that you will hold in, I mean if you wanna hold some names, okay, or some constants, that you will declare using string or char. If you want to declare something which is having with a uh, decimal values, then you will use something called double. Okay. Or there is some concept of big decimal. Okay, that is a wrapper classes. Okay, these are all the wrapper class of double and float, big decimal. Okay, we will check that more in our videos. Okay, once we finish this, what we'll do is let's plan for one mini project, okay, such that all your doubts will be cleared. When to use long, when to use string, when to use double, okay, when to use float. We'll do one mini project, so where you'll get some understanding what is happening. Okay, what exactly happens, you will understand that things. Okay, now let's go to the next point. What are non-primitive data types? I told you we have using string. Okay, there's something called array also, right? So if I have to, what is an array? Array is nothing but it is a collection of contiguous elements. Now for example, there's nothing but Harish. Okay, Kulkarni. I have to declare some variable here. One second. What it is giving error, we'll check. Too many characters. Okay, so I'm holding too many characters. Just remember that whenever you're giving more than one word, we have to give it in a double quotes. Okay. So similar kind of, still it is giving me an error. What it is saying, I am, see, you will just get, look at this error and you understand what are we giving. Required type is int, but what we have provided, we have provided string. So we have provided string and we have given, declare it as int, right? So that's where you will learn what is happening exactly. If I give it as string, this error will be gone. Just give it a couple of minutes, still error has been not been resolved. For some reason that error was not resolved at that point of time, but if you check, there's no error now. Okay. So if you check, right, so Harish and Kulkarni, okay, this is a string type. So what is an array? Array is nothing but it is a collection of similar kind of contiguous or some similar kind of objects. If you are trying to hold, if you want to hold something called, see, if I can't hold numbers here since I already declared as, see, see, this is accepting because I have declared it in a string. So for example, if I want to hold in this one number, right, it won't accept that because it, what is error? It says you are saying you declare it as string, but you are giving an integer. So we, so array is used to hold the similar kind of objects. Okay. So we will try to stop the video here and we'll try to look at the things which we have learned till now. Okay, what we have learned, we have learned that what is reserved keyword. Reserved keyword is nothing but these are the predefined words in Java. Okay, have some fixed meaning and are of Java syntax, and it cannot be used as an identifiers. Fine. So Java has 53 reserved keywords, among which keywords are 50 and reserved literals are 3. Reserved literals are true and false and null. And under the keywords, we have used keywords and unused keywords. Okay, used are if else for, okay, and we will see. So and we have actually uh, classified these keywords into, we have grouped or classified this reserved keywords, Java reserved keywords. So what are data types reserved keywords? Okay, what we will see more in our future, what are class and object related keywords. Okay, or we will check what are access modifiers, and okay, we'll check non-access modifiers. So we have grouped them. Okay, we have grouped them and we learn about the data types, right? What are the data type related keywords? Under the data type related keywords, we have something called primitive data types and non-primitive data types. Okay, primitive data types are byte, short, int, long, float, and double. Okay, character is a non-numeric type. Under the non-primitive data types, there is something called string, array. Okay, okay, there are many more. Okay, so what, what do you mean by this reserved keywords? We cannot declare these reserved keywords as an identifier. What is an identifier? Like whatever the name which we are trying to give it to a class, variable name, or a method name, that you cannot use as an identifier or you cannot use as a reserved keyword. But these reserved keywords, sorry to confuse you, these reserved keywords you cannot use as an